Good morning, everybody. Welcome to KETIV Virtual Academy. My name is Christina Ung. I'm a part of the marketing team here, and I help facilitate these sessions. Today, our host is Tom Fitzgerald, and this is part 5 of our data management series, Launching Your Manufacturing Company's Success Story. I went ahead and put a link to this session in the chat here. And on this page, you can see parts 1 through 4 as well. If you'd like to go through and check those out, you totally can. If you're watching on YouTube, I dropped the link in the chat and it should be on the top right corner of the video as well. So thank you everybody for joining. I also wanted to invite you to our upcoming Manufacturing Leaders Exchange. We're having our first session in San Jose in March, and you can scan the QR code with your phone to register to join. If you're not in the San Jose area, you can join virtually. These are virtual happy hour events to come and create conversation with fellow business leaders and technical experts about success stories, failures, ways that you want to improve your manufacturing business. I also want to remind you that at the end of this session, you can fill out our survey to let us know how we're doing, send us any suggestions of topics that you'd like to see covered. And if you are new here, welcome. This is KETIV Virtual Academy. We hold these sessions every Thursday at 10 a.m. I know I'm seeing a few familiar faces on here, so welcome back. Be sure to reach out to us if we can help you with this content or any other content.
Thank you, everybody, for joining today's KVA, where we're talking about part 5 of our data management implementation series. As you all know me, Tom Fitzgerald, I'm a Senior Technical Solutions Executive here at KETIV, been with KETIV for 2 years now. Previous to that, I was at Autodesk for 10 years, Solution Architect and a consultant wearing many types of different hats. I have 25 plus years in the 3D design industry in that environment, and over 30 years in the manufacturing space. So I'm also a United States Army veteran, and in my free time, I'm a World War II historian. So as I stated before, this is part 5, the 5th of in the series around implementing your data management solution. Now, in the first episode, we talked about planning. Second, we talked about preparation and how to prepare your environment. In the third one, we talked about configuring your environment to suit the needs of you as a company. Those types of things that are most valuable to you. As you know, every company is a little bit different. Your needs and your requirements are going to be considerably different than others, particularly or even in the same industry as you. And in the 4th series, we talked about populating your data management solution, your environment, trying to get all your data uploaded to it so that way you can access it and use it. And today we're going to be talking about what to do when you're ready to push that button and go live and introduce this into the general population in your production environment, your users. Okay, what do you need to do in order to do that, to go live? Okay, so as a little bit of a recap, some of the things that we touched on in the previous episodes, we just want to highlight the fact that here at KETIV, we understand you as a company and those things that you need to do. When it comes to working with your sales engineers and your estimating individuals and what they need to do in order to engage with customers to gather information about being able to deliver your products, to design and engineering and what it takes in order to realize what that information is coming from sales in order to engineer and produce the information needed for manufacturing to ultimately produce your product. So that whole pipeline of information from sales to engineering out to manufacturing, we here at KETIV, we're very familiar with all those processes. And what we really want to highlight is the fact that data management is that common thread that weaves its way through all those different areas within your business. And having a good, solid data management solution and application that you're using can make all the difference between being successful and maybe not so successful. So going along with that, we also want to highlight and allow you as a customer to understand where are you when it comes to your technology maturity. So in this slide, there's 4 different levels here where you can kind of self-evaluate and understand where you are from a technology maturity perspective. Are you doing things very manually and you don't have a lot of systems that are connected to one another? Well, maybe you're a level 1. Maybe you aren't doing things manual. Maybe you have a number of different systems and they're connected and they're talking to one another and you're leveraging automation. And well, maybe you're level 3 then, and you ultimately want to, get to level 4. Understanding where you're starting from will ultimately assist you in figuring out what steps you need to take to become more proficient, more successful, more productive as you start moving towards that level 4 optimized area. So also great graphic here. I love this this slide. Allows us to understand, of the 3 different distinct areas within a manufacturing business: sales, engineering, manufacturing. How do the different tools that rely upon, in this case, data management, how does that play within the broader scope of our business? And as you can see here with this slide, that Autodesk Vault, that data management element is that's what's critical to tie the 3 areas together, because it's your data and everything is revolving around data. Either you're producing data, you're consuming data, you're manipulating data, you're collaborating data, whatever the case might be. Having a good data management solution in place, like I said before, can make all the difference in your success. So in today's agenda, like I said, part 5, we're talking about what you need to be focusing on in order to go live with your data management solution. We're going to be talking about your environment status. What training are we going to be relying upon in order to upskill our users? How should we be notifying everybody that, we're going to be using this new system? Here's the deadline. Here's the new date. And then, of course, how do we support that activity to ensure that as individuals become more proficient and need to learn more about it, are they getting the proper support in order for them to be successful? So when it comes to working and understanding our environment status, in the previous episodes, we talked about making sure that we're setting up a test environment as we install and we start configuring our environment. We want to make sure that we're doing that within a test environment. So as you proceed through the different episodes and understand what it takes to install, implement, configure, populate, and get all those things coordinated within your data management solution, through that entire process, you're going to be doing testing both within your test environment and maybe even some of the smaller things in your production environment, just to making sure before you do flip that switch and go live with your solution. So make sure, what are the results from all your testing regimes? What can you glean from that information in terms of making any final adjustments before you go live? Of course, because of the fact that not every situation, not every company has the luxury of having a system in place and then getting another system spun up in the background and then cutting over at a particular time, there might be a slight delay between turning one system off and turning the other system on, if that's the case for you. So how do you deal with the information that has been being altered or changed or included in that time frame between you cutting off one system and turning on another system, right? The delta, those things that have changed in the meantime. So you have to have a strategy thinking about ahead of time of what is there going to be any information that's going to be slip through the cracks, or we may not be paying attention to. How are we going to deal with that? A lot of times it's just a matter of proper documentation. In other instances, you can use a system that can coordinate some of that information between those 2 dates as to what kind of traffic or what kind of activity has gone over through the system in that amount of time, to be able to understand, should we be assisting engineering in this regard? Should we be assisting manufacturing or sales in that regard? So there's a couple different things you can do to understand that time difference, or what's going on between the time frame of those 2 systems. And of course, what did you miss? The thing that I want to stress about what have we missed is the simple fact that everybody's going to miss something. There's very rarely does an implementation go off without a hitch. There's always something that comes up. And the thing that I really want to reinforce here is the fact that you can change things. You don't have to have everything set in stone when you go and implement your data management solution. there's opportunities for you to adjust and make changes. So if you do miss something, right, there's always going to be an opportunity for you to correct that, as long as you understand what the system can do, you have that familiarity, and you really know who you can rely upon. When you get into situations like that, you always want to lean towards those individuals that have expertise, that have been in those situations before. So do not hesitate to reach out to us here at KETIV. We've seen plenty of these situations. We can guide you through whatever that situation might be in order for you to, overcome your challenge in that regard. So this is always a hot topic, right? When you're introducing a new system or a new process, you have to educate and upskill your users, because once again, ultimately, it's really about what can my people do in order to contribute to the overall success of the company, right? Arming them with the information they need is going to be absolutely critical. And it's no different for when you're implementing your data management solution. So when it comes to training, specifically, these are some of the areas that you really want to focus on in terms of getting the right people with the right roles, with the right education. Focus on your administrators. Identify those individuals early and upfront, so that way they can be involved with the implementation, understand the intricacies and the different elements that are involved in the implementation. And then, of course, they'll have the best familiarity and the best capability when it comes time for them to get their training as well. You need to focus on both internal and external users as well. So internal users, those people within your organization, you can rely upon, online services in order to provide that training. You can have certified instructors provide that training for you. But the internal is relatively simple to solve. The external, maybe not so much, right? Depending on how you configure your access points, how external users access your data management solution. Are they using a thin client? Are they VPNing in? Do you have a generic user account that they utilize? Whatever the case might be in that regard, how do you give them proper training? Sometimes it's out of your control, and you can only make a suggestion or a recommendation as to what kind of training they could participate in. So, but what's important here is you have to notify them. If they have to access your system, they have to adhere to your requirements and your standards in order for them to accomplish that. So there may be even an opportunity for you to develop your own training curriculum, maybe some videos, and you post them on YouTube and have it secured and only have your external vendors access those videos. So that way they have some sort of understanding of your policies and your procedures to gain access to that information. Aside from those individuals, you also have your non-engineering individuals. Once again, Autodesk Vault's really kind of tailored towards engineering and design and that particular environment. However, those aren't the only individuals that can consume some of that information or even contribute to the system in terms of providing information, uploading information. So you want to make sure that you're accommodating those non-engineering individuals, administrators, people that might be in sales or in the manufacturing side, or people that are working with procurement or inventory. If they aren't engineering and they need to access your system, you may want to have maybe a refined or a condensed training curriculum for those individuals, maybe something specific for how they're going to be interacting with the system itself. You also need to educate IT. Now, this may sound like a no-brainer, but in some instances, depending on your hierarchy within your company, IT may or may not be involved in a data management implementation, depending on the size and the scale. They may be only involved in terms of acquiring and the hardware necessary, and maybe even some of the software licensing. But when it comes to the actual implementation of uploading data and configuring it, maybe they're not. It kind of depends on the situation. However, you should still educate them as to what's going on with the system. We all know that Autodesk and any other technology company, they make changes. There's different hardware requirement changes. There's different licensing requirement changes that are made. So as these systems evolve themselves and the requirements around them change, it's going to be pretty important to ensure that IT not only has awareness to what's going on with data management, but they should also participate in some of the training. So they're also armed with that knowledge to be able to contend with situations as they arise. So you've gone through, you've taken care of everything in terms of getting everything situated with your data management. You've trained the individuals. You've done your testing. You're fairly confident everything's, ready to go. Now comes the point of notification. You got to notify everybody as to what's going on. What date are you cutting off one system and turning on another? What date should they start taking their newfound knowledge from their training and then start using that? So how do we notify individuals that, what that date might be or when something might be happening or anything like that? I mean, this is pretty straightforward. You want to utilize as many resources as you possibly can. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think there's any way you can over notify anybody. And in a lot of cases, it's the exact opposite, right? We're under notifying people. So, blast out your emails. Make sure everybody, gets a lot of emails as to what's happening and when it's happening. Use some instant messaging services if you're using Slack or you're using Teams or whatever the case. Go ahead and make sure that you have some templatized or standard verbiage as to broadcasting out IMs to instant messages to everybody within the organization. If you have an internal website, go ahead and display a banner or some sort of panel indicating what's happening in terms of implementing your data management when you're going to go live with it. And then, of course, physical bulletin boards. Most companies I see in their waiting rooms, you have different standards and regulatory information that might be posted up on the wall. Make sure you're using those push pins and get some paper out and get up on the bullet boards. Make sure everybody's being notified in that fashion as well. So I guess really the point on this one here is you have to notify people. You have to make sure that they're aware. Use as many resources as you possibly can. Okay. So the last thing after everybody's ready to go, you want to make sure that you have a plan to support, right? Meaning something's going to happen, right? Either the technologies, there's going to be an issue with the process, there's going to be an issue with the people, there might be an issue. Something is going to come up and you're going to have to address it. So making sure you have a good plan in place of how you're going to support, either by, providing, like I said before, training curriculum that's available on the intranet. So people can go to a series of different videos and learn how to do different things, from a person perspective, how you're going to support them there. I'm a big fan of scheduling office hours, meaning you're on a regular basis, regular interval, regular frequency. You have subject matter experts or administrators or power users that are available to facilitate a call or a meeting time for people to check in whenever they want to and attend these office hours and ask questions and get questions answered as quickly as they possibly can. So having that availability to people at very dedicated times is super beneficial for people that want to get answers to their questions. When it comes to different systems issues that might pop up, making sure that you have, if you're relying upon IT or other technical individuals, make sure that you have them on a schedule where they can be available. So that way you have this revolving support available to tackle any kind of issues that might come up. And then lastly is having consultancy support. So having a support contract with us here at KETIV, or mentoring, or if we're doing the implementation for you and we're kind of holding your hand, make sure that you work that out with us so that way we can be available to provide that support that you need to ensure that you're successful when you decide to go live with your data management implementation. Okay. So in summary, Really what you want to do is arm your users with as much information as you possibly can. Once again, over notify rather than under notify. Make sure that they have the training that they need. Don't devalue that training. And nowadays there's so many different ways that you can accommodate that, right? We got online services. There's different ways that we can have sessions, online sessions, real-time sessions where you're communicating with power users and subject matter experts and administrators to be able to answer those questions. Don't forget to lean on your service providers here at KETIV, us guys, right? That's what we're here for, is to support you and help you through that process to make sure that you're successful. And then go ahead and reap all those benefits of having a good data management implementation, right? All those things that we talked about in the beginning when we were planning, how you're going to be able to access information faster with that higher level of confidence that's going to be accurate, reducing the amount of manual interaction when it comes to working with your data, having a single source of truth so you can connect to other systems. I mean, all these benefits are going to shortly be realized as soon as you go live and push that button. And I can't stress this enough either. Don't forget about ADCAR, guys. So that change management methodology of being able to make sure that your users are aware and they have all the information they need and they have the support they need in order to accept any new systems or new changes that are being implemented within your organization. So thanks again, everybody, for attending this series. We're going to open it up now for some QA, and if you have any questions, now's your opportunity.